deep in the heart of the Brazilian Pantanal, something was watching, stalking, waiting. For weeks, it studied his every move. Then, one morning, the hunter became the hunted. A man vanished. His remains were found near the lair of a 94 kilograms jaguar. But this wasn't a random attack. This was a calculated ambush. What drove one of the nature's most elusive predators to turn on man? This is the true story about Jorge Avalos and the jaguar that was watching him. Our story begins in the remote region of Touro Morto in Brazil's Pantanal, one of the world's largest tropical wetlands, home to incredible biodiversity. The Pantanal is a vast, flooded paradise stretching across Brazil, Paraguay, and Bolivia. It's home to one of the richest concentrations of wildlife on the planet. Over 650 bird species, 260 types of fish, and more than 120 mammals, including jaguars, giant otters, capybaras, and marsh deer. This ecosystem is a patchwork of forests, grasslands, and rivers, shaped by dramatic flood and drought cycles that drive its extraordinary biodiversity. Science even call it a living laboratory, a place where top predators thrive and rare species still roam free. But the Pantanal is in danger. Deforestation, wildfires, and unregulated development are threatening this fragile balance. And with only 5% of the area legally protected, time is running out. Because all this deforestation and disturbance in the Pantanal ecology balance, now danger is lurking in the shadows. Jorge Avalos, a 60-year-old caretaker, lived and worked at a fishing lodge by the river. It was peaceful, quiet. Too quiet. Something was wrong. Cameras placed near the boats captured an unexpected visitor, a jaguar, not just passing through, but staying, watching, learning, stalking. One day, Jorge didn't return home. His family called for help, and what began as a missing person search soon turned into a chilling discovery. Parts of his body were found near a cave, a known jaguar dam. No chance for a funeral. The remains had to be buried in a sealed coffin. The local community was in shock.
Barra do Touro Morto. Chegamos agora para comprar o mel do rapaz aqui, ó. Achamos um sangue no chão aqui. Marca de pato de onça, rabanico do cara aí, ó. Pode ver aí, ó. Marca do rastro dela tudinho, ó. Sangue para tudo quanto é lado. Pode ver que tem barro por cima aqui, ó. Marca de onde foi arrastado aqui, ó. Inteirinho aí, ó. Saiu pra lá, acabamos de chegar aqui agora. Está com coisa de uns 10, 20 minutos mais ou menos. Ela tem noção. Marca do rastro dela aí, ó. Tá inteirinho aqui, ó. Onde ela correu atrás aqui, ó. Tudinho. Aí pode ver, ó. Marca do rastro dela, tudinho aqui, ó. O tamanho da marca da unha dela aí, o rastro dela, tudo. Isso aconteceu agora. Touro morto aqui, ó.
The nephew of caretaker Jorge Avalos said in an interview that the jaguar was smart because it would stay there and follow his routine. Sometimes the fishing spot's cameras would film it while it was walking along the water's edge, lying down or near the boat, like it was stalking him for real. The nephew also said that his uncle mentioned that the jaguar regularly roamed the fishing spot. He claimed that his uncle was careless and thought that the jaguar would only be in the area at night when the man was inside the house, almost as if his uncle was trying to be friends with the jaguar, taming it. In his words, Jorge made things easier and, in the end, the jaguar that tamed him. In the early hours of Thursday, April 24th, a team of experts successfully captured the jaguar responsible for the deadly attack in the Pantanal. A special task force was sent in, environmental police, wildlife experts, and local trackers. This male jaguar, weighing 94 kilograms, 26 kilograms less than a healthy male, was tracked by a group of 7. Their mission was to locate and secure the elusive predator. But the feline surprised some agents before that. On April 22, as they tried to rescue the victim's remains, one of the men was injured in the arm after being hit by the jaguar, and it only retreated after gunshots were fired. The attack occurred when the animal was dragging parts of George's body for about 50 meters into the forest. Images taken during the operation show one of the agents injured by the jaguar at the scene. The animal appeared visible underweight, raising concerns about its health and behavior. The team decided to transport it to a wildlife rehabilitation center, where specialists could assess its condition and better understand what might have led to the attack. Jaguar attacks in Brazil are rare, but they do happen. In 2008, a man was killed by a jaguar in the Pantanal, the first officially recorded fatal attack in the country. In June 2008, a 20-year-old fisherman was fatally attacked while sleeping in his tent along the Paraguay River in the Pantanal region. The jaguar entered the tent at night, delivering fatal bites to his neck and his head. This incident is considered the first officially documented unprovoked fatal jaguar attack on a human in Brazil. On July 14, 2010, a 17-year-old tourist from Minas Gerais was returning from a fishing trip near Caceres in the North Pantanal region of Brazil. As evening fell, a jaguar suddenly leapt from a ravine onto his boat, biting his right shoulder and dragging him into the river. A few moments later, the jaguar surfaced with the young man's head between its jaws. The boat skipper intervened by striking the jaguar with an iron pipe, causing it to release the victim. The teenager sustained severe head injuries, including fractures and loss of cranial bone fragments and cerebral tissue, but he survived. Between 2010 and 2021, 5 non-fatal jaguar attacks were reported in Brazil. Those incidents typically occurred when individuals inadvertently approached jaguars that were feeding or protecting their young. These rare but serious incidents underscore the importance of caution and awareness when in jaguar habitats. As human activities increasingly encroach upon wild territories, understanding and mitigating human-wildlife conflicts become even more crucial. Bone fragments and hair strands were found in the jaguar's feces, possibly human. The authorities are still running the tests to confirm if the findings belong to the caretaker killed by the jaguar. Experts say jaguars don't usually see humans as prey, but the line between wilderness and civilization is getting thinner. Deforestation, river pollution, tourism, livestock encroachment. These pressures are pushing predators closer to people. The jaguar that attacked and killed the caretaker in the Pantanal of Mato Grosso do Sul was captured and will probably be kept in captivity. But why? At first, that wasn't the intention. The jaguar was supposed to be back in nature, but the decision of keeping it in captivity is justified by the change in the animal's behavior, possibly caused by the bait. The bait is the offering of food to attract wild animals and make it easier for them to approach humans. Therefore, this jaguar is showing signs of being highly habituated to humans. This would pose great risks to fishermen, tourists, and residents in the area. A specialist said that the animal has lost the fear of humans, and of course this is unusual. It's not normal for a jaguar to come so close, with all the noise and movement. Unfortunately, we see some cases in places where baiting is done, and all of this ends up causing conflict, because the animal sees the person who gives it some food as someone who is not dangerous. Jaguars cannot feel comfortable in environments with human presence. These animals are not pets. Baiting a wild animal like this is a crime of mistreatment and can be punished by imprisonment and a fine. George, the caretaker, paid with his life. Jaguars are not the villains. They are not after humans to eat. But if we interfere in this balance and don't respect the rules of this coexistence, we open loopholes to this type of accident to happen. Giant anteaters are typically shy and avoid humans. However, when they feel threatened or cornered, they can become aggressive, using their powerful claws as a defense mechanism. Although rare, there have been fatal attacks on humans in Brazil, often involving hunters who approached the animals carelessly. In August 2012, a 47-year-old man was killed by a giant anteater while hunting with his 2 sons and dogs on a rubber plantation in Guarujá, Amazonas. The man chose not to shoot the animal for fear of hitting his dogs and instead approached it with a knife. Feeling threatened, the anteater stood on its hind legs and grabbed him with its front limbs, slashing deep wounds into his thighs and arms. The hunter died in the scene from blood loss. In January 2016, José Rodrigues Martins de Souza, 41 years old, was killed by a giant anteater near his rural home in Bom Sucesso, Minas Gerais. After hearing his dogs barking, Souza went to investigate and encountered the animal in the forest. The anteater attacked, causing severe lacerations to his arms and legs. One of its claws struck a major artery in his thigh, and despite rescue efforts, Souza died from his injuries. Giant anteaters have poor eyesight and hearing, but rely on a highly developed sense of smell. When threatened, they rear up on their hind legs and use their long, razor-sharp claws to defend themselves.
Aí, pessoal, saímos para caminhar agora de manhã e olha aqui que nós encontramos aqui. Realmente o tamanduazinho, né? Não! Não! Vem! Vem, Trovão! Carinha valente. Trovão! Botou a gente para correr aqui, ó. O cara é muito macho.
These claws, designed to rip open termite mounds, can easily inflict death injuries on a human. Although extremely uncommon, these incidents highlight the danger of underestimating wild animals. As human expansion encroaches on natural habitats, encounters like this may become more frequent. Maintaining a safe distance from wildlife and avoiding reckless approaches is critical for personal safety and for respecting nature. There are more examples of fatal encounters with wild animals in the world. A 50-year-old man in Kufa, Najaf, Iraq, was mauled to death and partially eaten by a lion he had recently acquired as a pet. Despite being an animal enthusiast, his very dumb decision to keep it as a pet, a wild predator, led him to death. In October 2003, Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, were killed by a bear in Katmai National Park, Alaska. Treadwell, known for his close interaction with bears, had set up a camp near a salmon stream frequented by bears. Despite warnings and previous close encounters, the couple was attacked and killed, highlighting the dangers of habituating wild animals to human presence. And I'm sure you all remember the tragic death of Steve Irwin. He was known around the world as the Crocodile hunter, fearless, passionate, and wildly charismatic. But on September 4, 2006, Steve Irwin met an unexpected and tragic end from an animal few would ever fear, a stingray. While filming a documentary, Steve took advantage of a break in bad weather to film some extra footage in shallow water. It was meant to be a simple scene for his daughter's TV show, but as he swam over a large stingray, the animal suddenly struck, its barb piercing Irwin's chest and puncturing his heart. It was a freak accident. Stingrays are not aggressive and rarely attack humans unless provoked or startled. The wound was fatal. His crew tried to save him. CPR was administered, but the injury was in the heart. Steve Irwin's death remains one of the rarest and most tragic examples of a fatal animal encounter recorded in history. Accidents can really happen. I'd like to remind you that the villain here is definitely not the jaguar or the other animals we talked about. In the jaguar's case, was an accident that could have been avoided. I hope you learn from it and don't try to be friends with a wild animal. We all have seen videos showing humans trying to or even interacting with dangerous animals, facing it as pets. They are not pets, they are wild animals. Hope you all liked this video. I know it was a bit dark, but let me know in the comments here if you want to know more about the Brazilian fauna and flora. See you next time. Can I? Vai lá, deita lá. Vai, pra trás. Levanta, levanta. Aqui, ó, aqui. And this is a bonus scene. This is a pet, not a wild one, as you can see.